One. Welcome to your best bets, Ryder Cup Week 2023 at Marco Simone this week. Really excited to talk about the Ryder Cup. Really excited to do a podcast. First podcast we've done in about 6-7 weeks. So we got to get back into the swing of things. Just need a little mental break. It's been a busy summer, and we had talked about doing some NFL stuff, just never really worked out, never got around to it. So feeling refreshed, a lot to get to tonight. Two gentlemen that were in the final group of the 2023 Riverbend Club Championship. I feel like just really privileged to be part of this discussion. Johnny Strouser and Zach Fitzgerald. Johnny, congratulations on your victory last weekend. I was just kind of a text bystander, but it sounded like it was a pretty special weekend for you.
Well, thank you. Yes, it was good. It was fun. I think that was the most important thing that, most of us hopefully had fun. But the golf course showed out as Tom normally does with the events. And, they, you've been out there, recently, and a lot of members and everything. And it's just, there's a lot of good men and women who play out there and everything. And, happened to play some good golf, and unfortunately at the hands of Zach, who finished second place. But it was nice to watch watch a good golf, play good golf, and it got pretty interesting for a little while. And happy to win another club championship. This is my first at Riverbend. I've been a member at 3 different golf courses, 2 in Indiana, 1 in Michigan, and I think I was trying to think about, I think I played in 8 total club championships over my 15 or whatever years I've been a member at golf courses, and I've won 6 of them. So they are very important to me. I know, I play in other tournaments, play in city, but the club championship's always a cool as hell event to play in and to win, because it's a lot of your peers and everything like that you're playing with and against, and that you see quite a bit. And I don't take that lightly. I like to show off and show up, and just got to see the whole full experience, and got to meet a lot of members I don't usually meet, come across, and met a few of them I've never met before. And overall, it was a fun couple of days. And I look forward to next year having a parking spot with my name on it. I got one at work that I won in a raffle until December 31st. So I got a parking spot at work, and now I've got one next year at my golf course. So it's pretty cool, all in all.
Got the corner on the parking spot market for sure.
Yes.
Zach, I know it didn't go the way you wanted, but sounds like a good weekend nonetheless.
So I look forward to 2 golf weekends personally a year, and it's City Tournament and Riverbend Club Championship. City Tournament for obvious reasons. You just get to see all your buddies from all the other courses, get to see a lot of cool golf from guys that you don't normally get to play with. But the Riverbend Club Championship, it's just an event. Like Johnny said, there's fantastic guys and ladies out there that play, and you get an opportunity to see a lot of them all at one time. And it's not just the tournament golf, it's the events that they have. It's the shootout that they do at the end, which Johnny was part of that. It's an absolute hoot. The people that aren't playing are typically getting intoxicated, and the carts are literally like surrounding.
Chaos.
You're talking like 30 carts like surrounding all the way up to the green, which is hard for me to say because normally you would be like, you can't do that on a golf cart. Don't get anywhere near that close. But I mean, literally, we are like crowding everybody hitting in. So if you hit an errant shot, you're hitting a cart. It's just a seriously fun time. They do like a skill shootout, which is a good time too. So, it's really like a sun up to sundown thing out there for 2 days, and then about half of Friday as well. So, the golf course, takes a pretty big hit. They shut the golf course down for that entire, I don't know how many hours it is, 48 plus 12. So 60 hours, they shut the golf course down for the members. So it really does go well, regardless of how the outcome is. I enjoyed watching Johnny play. some of the best golf over 5 to 7 holes that I've seen personally played against me. It was pretty insane. So yeah, all in all, it was a good weekend. It stung a little bit there that day, but it's the one weekend out of the year that I actually drink, and I had about 7 or 8 drinks and laughed and had some conversations with people, and woke up the next day a little unhappy still, but we're a week out of it now, and to be honest with you, I think back on it fondly. So it was a really good time.
Being friends with both of you and both of you being on this podcast, I was rooting for both of you, obviously knowing that only one could win. So that was a tough spot, but it sounded like it was a great event, great time to be had. Johnny had, of course, the victory, and then a couple days later, this motherfucker then decides to just keep like the good, amazing things going, and just lets me know casually, oh yeah, I just made an ace a couple minutes ago on number 13 at Riverbend. I mean, Jesus.
So, okay, so the full backstory. So on Saturday we played holes. We started on 1, finished on 18. We played the normal golf course there. So what they typically try to do is they try to switch up the golf course the second day just to give you a different look at it. Well, they didn't want to start people on 10 to have to hit either a tough drive or an iron on 10, and you got an iron on 11, you got an iron on 12, and you got an iron on 13, and you're not pulling driver until like the 14th hole typically. So we played, I guess, what was the original routing of the golf course that we played 17, which is the par 5, played 17, 18, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then we moved over to the other 9 there. So I started out the second day. So Zach was leading by 4 shots going into the second day. And he makes a couple of nervous bogeys the first couple holes. I am at that point make a couple pars, only a couple shots behind. And then we move over to 10. He hits a great drive and was able to keep it on this green at the 10th hole, which is amazing in and of itself. Makes birdie. I make a sloppy bogey, and then I make a sloppy bogey on 11, and then I make an unreal up and down, just a bad iron shot or a bad tee shot, a good second shot, and an unreal up and down. I was back left to the green. The pin was front left, and it had 15 feet of break or whatever it was, and I hit it tap in distance. So then we get to 13. 13, I hit almost shank it, almost hosel rocket it. It actually hits the trees that don't come into play to the right and make double bogey. At that point, I'm starting to mentally kind of just, I'm not checked out yet, but we're at that point there. 14, I make a great birdie. Hit a green side and 2, have a really, really tough chip shot, hit a great chip to 6-8 feet, make birdie. And then 15, is that long par 4. I hit the tree, hits the tree, comes down. I've got like 200 yards to this impossible pin, and I'm like, I just want to get in front of the green, so I hit this laser beam 5-iron, and it looks like it's going a little bit right. I get up there, and this pin's like middle right, or actually back right, where that back slope is, and I hit it to about 18 inches, make birdie. And at that point, that's when we kind of get going. So anyway, so that's kind of a turning point of the round there. 13 was kind of like my bottoming out of that round, when I was kind of done with it. So Monday morning, I get up. I've got the week off. I'm like, I got nothing to do. I'm just going to go play. Anytime I get the chance to play Riverbend when it's in the shape that it's in, I'm going to go out there regardless of whether I'm too tired or if I got things to do. To play a golf course that rivals any greens on the PGA Tour, you just got to do it, man. So I was like, okay, we'll go out there. So I'm just plodding along, play the front 9, whatever. I think I shot 1 over, something like that. And I'm playing the holes, whatever, 10, 11, 12. Get to 13, and 13 was, that's the bane of my my summer, the hardest hole that I feel that's out there, because I always hit it left into that cart path there. So I hit it's the same tee, same pin. I kind of know where it's at. I hit a 6-iron up there, and I'm looking, it looks pretty good. Well, it looks like a pretty good shot. I knew it wasn't long, and that's usually the miss there for me, is if I hit it really good, it's long. I'm like, that's fine. So I got my push cart, and I'm just waddling up there, looking at my phone, probably placing a sports bet at that time. I get up there, and I don't see it short of the green. And I'm like, there's no way that that's long. There's no way. If it was 5-iron, I could see that, but I didn't hit a hard hook there. So I get up there and I'm like, it's in the hole. This son of a bitch is in the hole. So instead of grabbing my putter, I actually grabbed my phone because I was like, yep, this is probably in the hole. I go walking up there and I peek in. I make a hole in one. Unbelievable. And that was the fourth of my career. I made one other one 7 or 8 years ago, and then I made one in my freshman year of college in 2000, and then one my senior year of high school back in 98, 99, something like that. So make the hole in one. Nobody's around, no witnesses. I'm not worried about that. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell people I made a hole in one and not make a hole in one. So make the ace, gets me back to even, played mediocre golf coming in, and I'm just like, that's cool, you know. And I wish I would have kind of had,
Amazing.
saw it go in, because I would have kind of done the recording of myself and as I was walking up there, because like what some people do, and it was just kind of a missed opportunity that I only got a photo of it sitting in the hole. But you know what? I'm kind of, it turns out I'm kind of not. I'm glad I made it on Monday rather than Sunday, because you imagine the fucking drinks I would have had to buy for everybody for
Right.
making that ace.
Oh, man. Well,
And
I mean, the alcohol was kind of free anyway, so you could
well,
have just said you were buying it for
that's
everybody and
true.
then
That's true. And
split that behind the veil of excellence of Tom and Aaron. So
that is true. And I probably just would have not said anything, and people would have just kept drinking and everything like that. But yeah. And that's another thing I don't really like. I don't like how if you make the hole in one, you buy the drinks. What the hell there? You pull off an immaculate golf shot,
It's
and
bullshit.
you've got to spend however amount of money to buy people drinks. I don't think so. But
We, we,
pretty
we
cool
need
though.
to we need to do like a future podcast, like what are the 10 things wrong with golf, and that would be on the
Dude,
list
yes.
for sure. I
not
agree
being able
with
to
you.
move the ball to fairway and divots. That's the number one
That-
thing wrong with golf.
That's such a
I can
gray
I,
area though.
I
That's
can I
it's
can argue
It
that
is, and I
all day long.
understand why it doesn't happen, but that is the number one issue in mind.
Yeah, congrats on the ace.
Thank you.
Incredible. Really just incredible to do on that hole, because I like you. I get on that hole and I don't have a feel. I just don't have comfort. So really impressive. Um, it's funny.
The wind's always blowing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, nope, nope. Go ahead.
Well, the wind's always blowing to the left, and the proper shots to hit a cut there. And when you hit a draw, it doesn't look like it, but it slopes slightly from right to left there, so it's hard to stop. And but it's also really, really difficult when the wind normally blows right to left to try to hit a cut into that. When the mist left, everything goes down into that shit. So
Exactly.
it's just a great
Exactly.
hole. I mean, it's a great mind fuck of a hole.
Yeah.
And as someone, if there's any faders out there like me, aiming down the left edge of the green is really uncomfortable as well, because when you don't when you don't actually cut the ball and you hit a straight ball, then you're in that same position. So it's awkward all the way around. What I was going to mention was, aces have been kind of just on my mind after, and we haven't done a podcast since before the city. Um, Second round of the city, I witnessed Joe Heron playing with Joe the second round. Um, uh, Puts one in on number 4 at Pine Valley. Joe, if he's listening, he'd probably not be happy to have me report that earlier in the round he had made a 10 on number 12, and we started on the back 9. So to make a 1 and a 10 in the same round is, I told him, I said, that's incredible. I don't care how bad it was. That's incredible. But no, it was really, really cool. I hadn't seen an ace since I had made one 2005, and so just to be there during the city, I mean, we went absolutely crazy. So that was really, really cool to see Joe do that. So, but yeah, that's definitely a topper for a pretty incredible 3 or 4 days for you, for sure.
Absolutely.
Can we get in the Ryder Cup?
I want to talk about this Ryder Cup. I'm excited.
I got some good nuggets here. When we get into it a little bit, but it just we started this podcast in 2020. We got to do the 2021 preview when it was at Whistling Straits. We kind of foreshadowed that we thought maybe the U.S. would win, maybe convincingly. I don't think any of us saw it that convincingly, where they almost kept the Euros to the single digits. I think it was it 20 and a half to 10 and a half, or well, no, it doesn't have to 30, but it was close to a 10-point win, which is an insane victory. And at the time, we said, God, they're going to have this nucleus back, and they're going to be able to run this back quite a bit. And the European team, we had some doubts on just what their future would look like. Even last year at this time, we thought, oh my God, the U.S. is in such an incredible spot. I mean, they have a wealth of talent, and I mean, there's going to be 4 or 5 guys that should be on the team that won't be able to make the team. And the Euros, man, they don't got anyone in the pipeline. Um, they're losing all their veterans to live and all this, and now we're we're to the week of, and this feels incredibly tight and incredibly close. And just the fact that it feels like the Euros are super top heavy with their top 3 guys. You know, there's some questions on the bottom end of the team. I think we'll get into that a little bit, but it's amazing how different it is from when it ended at Whistling Straits and even a year ago to how it feels now, where there's some real questions on who's going to win this thing. Zach?
I mean, I'm like sitting here looking at my notes right now as you're saying that, and ever since I've kind of written this down earlier today while I was watching football, it really does look like, to me, I put a line straight through the guys who qualified and the captain's picks, and the top half, obviously, of the Europeans that qualified is extremely heavy. And to me, the bottom half of the captain's picks on the Americans are pretty heavy, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of people in the top half, the qualified people on the American team that definitely kept some of the veterans out that have some of the veteran savviness. I would definitely not say that this is in any way going to be a runaway with the U.S. team. I mean, I could argue that I think that, in all honesty, the European team is stronger, especially with the home field advantage. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It's not one that really you can kind of pick, and I think that there's a lot of good possible matchups and plays and teams that can be made out of these. So I'm interested to see a couple players that have certain skill sets to see where they play in this, and I'm sure that we'll get into that later.
Johnny, the just to kind of to follow up on that, US is minus 120 right now on DraftKings to win. Europe at plus 125. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, when the US was maybe minus 175. So that, I mean, the odds have really shifted quite a bit to reflect what we were saying.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever touched minus 200, but it was juiced quite a bit, just a couple of months ago. But, you look at it, there is a lot of uncertainty with the United States team. I mean, they've had some significant turnover from what we thought was just, a juggernaut of a Ryder Cup team there. So, it's one of those things that I think with that, you look at guys like, Wyndham Clark and Brian Harmon and, the putting of Scotty Scheffler and a lot of those guys that were selected. It's just there's not that certainty that they're playing really good golf and they're going to go to a different country and not have the crowd. And this is just different. This is just not what golfers in general are accustomed to. So that's why it's so hard to win. Is a reason which we'll dive into that a little bit later here on why it is such a hard thing to win. But it's one of those things that the Euros being so top heavy, so top heavy, and a lot of them are playing a little bit more tournament golf right now. While after the Tour Championship, most of the United States players have played very, very sparingly, but you look at a lot of the bigger DP World Tour events where a lot of the guys for the Euro Tour have played, so we can kind of see how their golf games are. There's a lot of I don't knows as far as how the U.S. team looks right now, but top to bottom, the U.S. team is far better, and they're probably a little bit more battle tested. But with it being being in Rome, not on American soil this year, there is a lot of unknowns. So there's going to be some value, in picking the European team, and it'll be very interesting to see kind of how this all plays out, especially in the early matches.
I mean, if you were just a smart better, you'd probably take the underdog getting plus money at home. 7 of the last 8 Ryder Cups have been won by the home team. The only outlier there is the 2012 Ryder Cup, where the U.S. blew the 10-6 lead in Chicago,
Jesus
and
Christ.
just a really tough rewatch if anyone wants to go back and just see just
Oh,
a series of putts here and there, and it just everything happened at once. It was like a lightning strike. I mean, I if they play that, if they, this is my classic line. If they play that final day 10 times, the U.S. wins 9, and if actually they play it 20, they win 19. Just that was a crazy anomaly. But so if you were to go in with the trends and just the odds, you'd probably bet the Euro side. 30 years have gone by since the U.S., and I still can't believe it, that since the U.S. has won a road Ryder Cup when they won the 1993 Ryder Cup at the Belfry. Um, guys, I want to do a little exercise. Can you guys name who was on the 1993 U.S. Ryder Cup team, captained by Tom Watson? Throw me some names here. I bet you will not be able to name 2 or 3 of these guys.
well, it's going to
Corey
be
Pavin.
Pavin wasn't, I don't think, was he?
Corey Pavin
Say
is one.
93.
He was?
Yep. Corey Pavin went 5 matches in the 93 Ryder Cup.
Holy shit.
Hal
You see
Sutton.
what?
Who else?
Curtis Strange.
No
No.
Curtis Strange.
Payne
No.
Stewart.
Payne was on there. Yep.
Couples.
Fred Couples. Yes.
Did you say no to Hal Sutton?
No Hal Sutton.
Azinger?
Azinger. Yes.
Azinger. Yeah, that was.
Azinger was top in points that year. Yes.
Ooh. Ray
Tom Watson.
Floyd.
Ray Floyd, at over 50 years old, was a captain's pick, and he was the leading point getter, at least tied for the leading point getter that week.
Dude, that dude was a killer, though.
Incredible.
Even at that age, he had that resurgence
Yeah,
late in his career.
Incredible.
Wow.
There's a couple other guys here that you should get.
Mark Calcavecchia.
Fuzzy Zeller?
No Calc, no Zeller. Davis Love was a
DL3.
rookie.
Okay.
Tom Kite.
Mickelson was on that, wasn't he?
Mickelson
I mean, he
wasn't.
was.
I think 95 was his first, and then that's when he had his run. Tom Kite, Lee Jansen, U.S. Open champion that year.
Yep.
Showed out that week at the 93 Ryder Cup, the only United States member not to earn a point that week. John Cook.
John Cook. Okay.
Lanny Watkins, who was in his mid-40s at that point.
Lanny Watkins.
And then the last couple, you're just going to be like, really? Chip Beck.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
And rookie Jim Gallagher Jr.
Solid career.
I don't know why. That one I like that one the most.
Huh.
Yeah. 15-13 that week. Yeah, it's just, I mean, gosh, I was 10 years old and here I am 40. So it's an incredible stretch. And the thing is, I don't think they've been close. They really haven't been close. I guess you want to argue 2014. No. I'm sorry. 2010, the Hunter Mahan year where he flubbed the chip, and
Yep.
they were within reach, but even then, I think he was already down 1 on the 17th hole, and that's when that happened, and they still lost. But that was reasonably close. But there's been several blowouts. I go back to 2018 when it on paper, that was one of the best Ryder Cup teams the U.S. has ever assembled, just on paper. But you go back and you kind of look at the fit of the golf course for guys like Mickelson and Bryson, and Tiger was just coming off the Tour Championship where I think he was exhausted. And so, I look at the 23 team on paper and I'm like, these guys are so good. They're not. I don't think they're as good as 2018, but I think the course fit is a little bit better this time around than Le Golf National was for the 2018 team, because that team just wasn't accurate off the tee compared to the Euro team, where they had the Molinaris and the Fleetwoods, and Rose was playing well, and they just had the guys that fit the course. So I think, from what I understand about this course, this might be a better fit for this team. But what are the other reasons why it's just impossible to win on the road in the Ryder Cup, Johnny?
Well, I mean, I think you look at like I said, it is a very uncomfortable thing when you've got crowds that are generally not cheering for you. I also think a lot of these teams that the United States has assembled has been, I don't want to go Lou Holtz and say they're soft or anything like that, but sorry, I had to, but these
you
guys,
gonna pull a Ryan Day right now?
oh, I'm gonna pull a Ryan Day here. No, I think these newer guys that are on the team, and it was a lot the same as the Whistling Straits team, is these guys are, it's a business trip. And these guys know nothing else other than to figure out a way to be peaking their game come Friday morning when the first matches go off there. And they're not interested. The media scrutiny, the questions about why haven't you won a road game in 30 years that would normally bother guys 15, 20 years ago. And I'm not saying that it's just that these guys back then, like, the Tom Lehmans, the Davis Loves are weaker mentally or anything like that, but it's just with social media and all the other obligations that these golf pros have these days, and the business interactions and everything like that, these guys, I mean, they come in, it's a business trip. They know when to play good golf. They do have fun, but it's more focused and centered towards dealing with all the hoopla. And that's why this team, I believe, can win. And I don't think that the other past Ryder Cup teams, especially for the United States, was any good at that, and any good at handling that, because you look typically, I'm sure, 30 years ago, and I don't know how the media was. There was no golf Twitter, obviously, then, but the media was generally probably pretty coddling and supportive and everything, and that's just not the case these days. These guys come in, and they even said it that the team room, you used to play ping pong, or they'd shoot pool, and they'd watch movies together and all that stuff. These assholes come in, they lift their weights, they come in, they eat, they might hang out a little bit together, but they're probably on the phone with their agent booking their business trips and what sponsors and all that other stuff. This is serious stuff for them, and they're all very, very competitive. Just by we watch them week in and week out how competitive they are. So I think that's something that this generation of younger people, younger golfers are gonna approach it, as opposed to the other ones who just could not ignore that. And then the classic American implosion, where you get one thing going wrong and then it's just a chain effect. And this happens, I mean, look at any US national soccer teams, or other teams like that always end up disappointing for one reason or another. So I think that's a big thing that's changed, and that was thing that was the biggest thing that kind of hurt these guys, like I said, 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Zach, I'm interested in your perspective on this. The 21 U.S. team was the first team that didn't have Phil or Tiger on it since the 93 team. And I remember a couple of guys saying that they kind of rallied around each other with some new blood, some new energy, some new leadership. I think Spieth is kind of even being mentioned as one of the guys that's really become a leader. We know JT is sort of the emotional leader. Do you think kind of having that, I don't know, without Phil or Tiger as part of this team, new blood, sort of a new attitude going overseas gives them a, I don't want to say better chance to win, but it's just a different feel this time around?
I mean, I think Phil's a cancer, really kind of always has been, but I mean, I think just a lot of it's kind of coming to light now. I mean, he's a
That's
great
a big
player.
statement. That's a big statement.
Well, I mean, he is. I mean, I'm sure people like him, but if he's sitting there, and we've always heard the stories about being a degenerate gambler and all those things, and I'm not saying that there aren't other people that do that, but obviously certain things are taking priority over other things. And I don't think that when it comes to Tiger that there's ever a negative to having him as part of any team, be it a player or not a player. I think he's loved by everybody, and the knowledge that he has, it really seems like he's willing to impart that. And I think that all the younger generation likes him. I do think though that when I look at this team, there definitely is a changing of the guard with the American team there. Everybody's pretty young. I mean, there's very few guys here over 30 on this team.
Mhm.
So, we're really kind of looking at a team that could be together for years and years and years. I don't think every one of these guys is going to be together for years and years and years, but there's certainly a core group of guys, Thomas included. I'm sure we'll get into that, as to why he's on this team and all that. But, he's certainly part of that core group of the American team. Now, if you want to ask me why I think that it's been 30 years since we've beaten them in Europe, they care more. Simple as that. They simply care more about the Ryder Cup than we do. We have in America significantly more sports to go around than what they do. So to them, it's cricket, soccer, and golf. And this is huge for them. I mean, this is beating us is more important to them than us beating them is to us. So that has a lot to do with it. Not to mention the fact that I think that their players throughout time have been just significantly better match play players. Maybe not over a 4-day tournament, but if we're talking about just match play players, just European people seem to be a little bit grittier than what we are. And as Johnny said, I don't necessarily know that we're soft, but I think that we're not as gritty, not as grindy as what they are. So when things get a little bit tougher, I think that they're just capable of grinding slightly better. And I think as a team aspect, they've kind of always had a little bit more camaraderie than what we did. We kind of always just seemed like we came together as a satellite group of people. Now, I do look at this team, and for the most part, I think that that is not the case. I think this really is a team. So it's exciting. I think that the American team, I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I think the American team is going to win this time. I do think they absolutely should and they could. But I think going forward, this is a really positive sign for the American team.
I absolutely agree with you on the why. Europe has dominated, especially at home, the last 30 years. The camaraderie and the team element, the team feel has been completely one-sided in their favor, just chemistry, whatever you want to call it. And I do feel like this group of U.S. players, it is a bit of a change of the guard. The Spieths, the JTs, Homa kind of being, newer to that crew, but that positive energy, hang out with your boys. And when we get to talk about the captain's pick being a boys club, I don't think it's a bad thing, because Europe this is kind of how they've done their captain's picks for a long time. There was years where I couldn't believe Ian Poulter was getting a captain's pick, but based off of his incredible play and him being boys with a lot of those guys, I mean, it doesn't always have to be, the best player, but it's the best team fit. You can talk about that, like the Keegan Bradley versus JT thing. But I do think this crew of U.S. players is a little bit different. So while we're talking about the U.S. team, let's get into it a little bit. Johnny, with kind of looking at the U.S. team's roster from top to bottom, where do you feel like their strengths lie? Where are the weaknesses? What are some of the pairings that you're kind of looking at? We kind of have a very good idea about most of them, I think, just based on the captain's picks. So just kind of give you a couple of your impressions of the U.S. roster and what you like and what you don't.
Well, I mean, I think they're pretty deep top to bottom, and judging by how difficult the captain's picks were, it's not like he was, Zach Johnson was choosing between guys that really didn't deserve to be on the team. So I think that's important there. What I have really liked that since they instituted the task force a number of years ago is going with the pod system. And I think that absolutely works out, and these guys practice all week together. They're comfortable. It's a lot of what the European team does when they had the old European tour. They would travel from country to country, and a lot of them would play in all those events. So they kind of got used to playing practice rounds and Tuesday money games together, and all that other good stuff. So, with looking at the U.S. team, I liked a lot of the pairings. I mean, obviously you're going to go Xander and Pat Cantlay, who just, I mean, they should never not be paired together. They're real solid there. And then I think Zach Johnson did a really good job when he picked Sam Burns, because he's such good friends with Scotty Scheffler. He's a good driver of the ball. Scotty Scheffler's having one of the best iron play seasons ever, just has trouble with the putting. And what is Sam Burns good at? Putting. So I think that's a perfect match there. You look at, Max Homa and Colin Morikawa, the two Cal Bears. One I'm very intrigued at is, and I think it's going to end up being a strength, is the Brian Harman Brooks Koepka pairing. And I hope they play a lot of 4-ball together. I hope they play actually both 4-ball matches, because I think Brian Harman could be an absolute menace to that European team. That guy is an alpha trapped in a beta's body, and he's exactly like Brooks, except he's an alpha male in an alpha male's body. So I think they can I think that's a pairing that's going to work really, really well, because they're both kind of that leader, be a prick type of person, and I think that really that's really going to work out quite well there. The one I'm a little concerned at is the Team Odyssey putter, the Wyndham Clark Ricky Fowler pairing. Ricky goes well with everybody. And I think he's proven it when he won at Rocket Mortgage that he's back. He's back to where he was. But it's been a while since he's been in the limelight. I can't remember the last Ryder Cup he played in, but he was the one back. Was it 2010?
Yeah.
The Hunter Mahan one. He
Yeah.
played unbelievably well in that event there. And it was just Wyndham Clark. You just don't know what you're going to get out of Wyndham there. But the good thing is that you got somebody, Ricky Fowler. You could pair him with literally anybody there. So I think that ends up working out. So like the groups I'm not worried about is, like I said, the Cantlay Xander. Not really worried about Homa and Morikawa, and the Spieth Justin Thomas is another one that I know sometimes their games go a little bit haywire, but they're gonna annoy the European team and grind out stuff, and they may not necessarily win a whole bunch of points, but I think that's a team that can just really just wear down wear down the other team. So I kind of I like all the guys that they pick, so it's kind of hard to have that kind of a weakness. So it's just it should be kind of interesting to see if they stick with that the entire time, or how Zach Johnson's going to end up switching those guys up in the different pairings as opposed to 4-ball in the foursome matches.
Mm-hmm. Zach, just add your thoughts there on anything Johnny said, and then also, were you okay with Zach Johnson's captain's picks, and especially the Burns and JT pick?
I don't have anything more to say about the pairings. I mean, I think you guys know the pairings way better than I do, and whatever Johnny just said there is going to be significantly more articulate and informative than anything I had to say about pairings. So I'll move on to the next question. I did want to add on to something. You said that it always used to surprise you when Poulter would get picked for this team. And I think that we get surprised when guys that don't historically win a lot of individual tournaments do well in these team events. And I think that what it comes down to is mentality. I think that you have certain guys, and Poulter may fall into this category, where maybe if he fails himself, it doesn't bother him. He could live with that. But maybe failure of teammates is something he can't deal with. So it drives him to a different level. I just think
Very well
that
said.
there are certain guys like that can absolutely deal with failing themselves. They can live with themselves. That's perfectly fine, but they cannot deal with failing other people, or especially people that they perceive as teammates or brothers in arms. So I think that's a big reason. I think JT honestly falls into that topic. So if we're talking about JT, no, I'll never have any issue. Um, Kind of like I said, I would never have an issue had he have picked Dustin Johnson either. I'm not saying that I think Dustin Johnson should be on this team over anybody that's here. I don't. I don't think that he had the resume this year to be. But had he have been picked, I could have certainly argued that his just resume alone in the Ryder Cup could do it. Now, for me, the only person that I would have liked to have seen change is Sam Burns, and that's not for any reason, golf reason. I just really think Keegan deserved to be on this team this year. And you look at a guy like Keegan and how brokenhearted he is, he's definitely one of those guys that does not want to let the team or America down. So I really would have liked to seen him get his opportunity to be on this team. Aside from that, no issue with the captain's picks whatsoever. To me, it seems like everybody kind of deserved to be on here. Um, and no issue. I understand the issues that people will have with Thomas, but I kind of agree that you just don't leave Justin Thomas at home in a Ryder Cup. You just don't leave him at home.
Yeah.
He's got too much of that fire, too much of that like team camaraderie thing that even if he doesn't necessarily play well, he's going to kind of bring everybody together. So I like him always on a Ryder Cup team.
Yeah, well said. Well, a couple of those points really well said. I wholeheartedly agree that JT is the heartbeat of the team. He has become that guy, and his record is Ryder Cup, Presidents Cup combined has been incredible. It would have been, I feel like it would have been a bigger risk leaving him off the team than it is having him on the team. And give Zach Johnson a lot of shit for a lot of things, but I thought that was ballsy for him to go that way. He could have went, Lucas Glover, Keegan Bradley, but to me, I think I said this to Johnny. I mean, I can live with JT in a big spot in a singles match on Sunday when it's 12-12 and we need a guy to come through. I want it to be him versus a guy like Lucas Glover who just started showing up, middle of this year. So it may not work out that way. He may not play well, but I can live with, one of the 10 best players of the last decade, being in that spot over some other guys.
Hey, could you imagine if you're Zach Johnson and you didn't pick him? And again, we'll just say Lucas Glover just because he's going to be easy to pick on here. Could you imagine needing a point on Sunday and saying, yeah, I got Lucas Glover instead of Justin Thomas? I mean, I can't imagine a universe that exists where that would be something that's acceptable. I mean, it's just weird to me.
A guy that just learned how to putt after 10 years of not knowing how to putt, and then I don't know. The Keegan thing is you're right. I think Keegan had a better year than Burns. Burns probably got his way on this team because of his relationship with Scheffler. With that said, I still like Burns's game for match play. He won the match play this year. Putting has been an Achilles heel of the U.S. for a while in this event, and he is one of the guys that can putt the ball. I want to piggyback off of the Brian Harman thing, though. When he won the Open, I was kind of like, oh man, Brian Harman's going to be on the team. And then as the week or after he won, and I kind of thought about it, I'm like, okay, Brian Harman, I'm all in on Brian Harman because he is that guy that's you could sense getting under the skin of the Euro fans, the Euro players. Just constantly making 8 to 12 footers all week. And, if he's paired with Brooks, like we suspect he might be, I mean, I'm just wildly interested to see how that goes. That could be pretty incredible. And I think the pairing that actually that could, if it goes as we think, is that has a chance to be really good is Homa and Morikawa. I still love how Morikawa struck the ball this year. And Max is, last time we saw him just a couple weeks ago at Fortnite, his event, he played really well. He's just made such good strides all around this year where I just don't, I mean, that team in alternate shot might be a really tough one to crack. So I'm interested to see who's going to play foursomes, who's going to play four ball. With the golf course being such a arduous walk, I'm interested to see if anybody's going to play five matches with their depth. It just makes. I think we said that at Whistling Straits, and a couple of guys went five. But for me, I would like, unless someone's just red hot and you got to keep them on the course, I would like to see these guys go no more than four matches. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I agree. Just because, yeah, I mean, you don't want to wear a guy out, and I think they've got the depth. So hopefully, I'm a big proponent of in any of these, whether it's the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup, the Solheim Cup, anything like that, is get everybody involved in that first day. Everybody should play a match, and then you see how it looks come Saturday morning, and you may have to rest a guy or two, something like that. But you're right. There might be, these guys are going to be fit enough that they're going to be able to do it. But whether you really want to do that, because I mean, 90 holes in 3 days, that's a lot of golf, and that's big time. So you hope that the depth will take them through it, and where they could spot rest guys. But hopefully I think Zach's pretty in tune. I think as an assistant captain, we've questioned. I know, Phil, you and I have questioned certain guys being benched at certain moments, especially like that Saturday morning match or the Saturday afternoon match of like the hottest player out there. I don't think Zach is that type of guy who would kind of do that. So I'm hoping that he'll ride the hot hands and realize and get the pulse of how his guys are playing and everything. And it should be pretty interesting to see, what that first day entails, like I said, with getting everybody in.
Mm-hmm. Zach, Team Europe, we mentioned just how top heavy. I mean, arguably, this second they have maybe the three best players in the world, and Rory Rahm and Hovland. Of course, Scheffler's probably in that mix, but Hovland ends the season on a tear. Rahm began the season on a tear, and Rory was pretty great all the way through. And then you have some solid guys, your typical solid guys like Fitzpatrick, Hatton, Fleetwood, Lowry. And then you got some questions maybe at the bottom like McIntyre, Sepp Straka. You never know what you're going to get with Sepp. He could go nuts or he could shoot 80, and I don't think anybody would be surprised. And then, of course, what we all think is going to be the next Euro superstar and Ludwig Aberg. What's your thoughts on the Euro team?
I think they're extremely strong. I look down at these names and understand one of them can beat any of the other players at any time. The thing is that, like you said, Rory, Rahm, Hovland, they may be, along with Scheffler, the top four of what people would think, but we haven't seen everybody play golf for a while, so we don't know what everybody's been doing, taking vacations, doing all that shit, just coming back this week to come in. So I think that after the first day, we'll kind of have a little bit more of an idea as to where everybody stands with where their golf games are, and probably have a little bit better of an idea. But I think the teams look really, really, really identical and fair to me. I think it's going to be a really, really good match. I think you could put a lot of. They definitely have more experience with guys like Rose, Lowry, Rory. People have played in a lot of these. Fleetwood's played in a few of them. They're older as guys as well too. So I do like their team, but the more we do talk about the American team, it's kind of difficult to as we started talking about the camaraderie and everything. It's what that I thought the American team had been lacking forever. Just it seemed like there was a Tiger camp and a Phil camp, and they were the number one and number two, and it was always divided team. And now it seems like, and this seems to be the case in most sports, that everybody's just friends now. So we'll see how that goes. It is exciting. I think it could go well for them. But the European team, yeah, I mean they're loaded. You got Rose coming back, who really has kind of had a couple down years himself, coming back, playing well. Straka has been playing well. I know what you're saying about him kind of getting squirrely, but
Yeah.
he's been playing well. And I don't know much
Mhm.
about Adberg, but you just said that he's the next big star, so that's kind of exciting. I know that he won a tournament and they picked him, but aside from that, I don't really know a whole lot about him. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, and NCAA champion. They actually led the BMW PGA last weekend for most of the event, which is pretty much like the PGA Tour's Players Championship. Didn't win, but just showing a ton of potential. Johnny, as far as pairings go on their side, I've read some rumblings about maybe a Hovland Rahm pairing, Rory and Ludwig, which would both of those would just be fucking terrifying.
Uh, John Rahm with anybody is going to be terrifying in and of itself. But yeah, I like the idea. If I was a European fan, that I would want Luke Donald to throw the big boys. I mean, yeah, throw Hovland and throw Rahm and throw your top guys. You don't have to spread out the wealth. And I'm not saying make your lineups more mediocre, but get those guys, get that put some fear into not only the players but the American fans as well. Because if we see, I mean, just imagine them rolling out in, I don't know if it's the four ball, the foursome, what starts out Friday morning, but if they throw Rahm Hovland, Aberg and McIlroy, and then you've got Tommy Fleetwood and whomever, it's just like, okay, this is pretty good here. We don't need to, you don't necessarily need to put the rookies with the veterans there. I mean, sometimes just let the rookies go at it. These guys are battle tested, not necessarily for the Ryder Cup, but they're all there for a reason, and they're all really, really good players. Um, they're not scared. These guys aren't scared. These Europeans are not going to be scared in Rome. Nikolai Højgaard's not going to be afraid. Sepp Straka's won on the PGA Tour a couple times. Justin Rose is battle tested and has seemingly found his game. So there's a lot of different options here. But what we're going to see, though, we're going to see it like we see every single Ryder Cup. You're going to see Shane Lowry, who hasn't made a putt in, I would say, 2 to 3 years, has not made a goddamn putt in 2 to 3 years, is going to putt out of his mind. He's going to make every 4-footer, every 6-footer that he needs to make, and it's just going to end up happening because, like what Zach says, they're playing for the team. They're the fear of failing your teammates is too strong, so they're going to end up playing pretty well there. So there's a lot of different combinations. I don't know if Donald is going with the pod system in the practice rounds. It's going to be very intriguing to see come tomorrow and Tuesday and Wednesday how these practice groups go out. But if it's me, I'm putting my big 4, 5, 6 guys out there to start, and we're going to try to get out to a lead and win that opening session. Because playing from behind against the deep, American team is going to be, I think, too insurmountable of a task. So I got to think you got an idea on some pairings though. Is there some that kind of that jump out at you?
Well, to me, I think every time I think a guy should play a certain format, he plays the opposite format. Like I'm like Sepp Straka to me is like destined for four ball.
Four ball, yeah.
Absolutely. Like Nikolai Højgaard should play four ball. I just think there's so much pressure, especially for rookies and foursomes, where things can get really squirrely really quick. I mean, that is just an uncomfortable format, especially for guys that have no experience. So I'm not saying those two would be a great pairing. If Rory's not with Ludwig, Rory and Shane Lowry are best friends. I mean, that's not a bad way to go. Someone like Fleetwood and Fitzpatrick, a couple Englishmen, great ball striking. Fleetwood's had an unreal ball striking year. He can't make a putt when it fucking matters, but but he will this week because that's what they do. But I like those two together. A guy like Hatton's played incredible this year. I don't really know who you put him with. I don't know where a guy like Bob McIntyre slots in either. He might be a four-ball guy. So I don't have a great feel about the Euro pairings compared to the U.S. Again, I do think Rory and Ludwig and four ball would be just an incredible driving bonanza, though. I mean, even Rory commented how great Ludwig drives the ball, and that says a lot coming from arguably the greatest driver of the ball ever. So we'll see. Who do you guys like better as a captain, Donald or ZJ? And got a beat on either one, Zach?
Like as a player or as a captain?
Oh, a captain.
Um,
To be determined.
Johnson. I mean, for me, Johnson, but it is to be determined. All the reasons I'm going to say about Johnson, the fact that I know that he's had years of camaraderie with these guys could probably be said about Donald from a European perspective. So, yeah, I would say that this one's kind of honestly to be determined. Kind of funny that they're both guys that are, won majors, or I don't know. Did Donald win a major? No, Donald
No.
never did win a major, but he was world number one. Both guys though that don't hit the ball a long way, managing guys that hit the ball 40 yards farther than them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. Johnny, is Tiger going to be the 25 captain at Bethpage? Is that what we're thinking?
I hope so.
God,
I
hope so.
gotta think, and I would hope that they would give him, for what he did in Australia, that they would give him the Bethpage. I think that would be amazing. I think it was originally, our plan was Phil Mickelson in that position, is what we were originally planning, but things have happened, and I think that
Things
ship
went
has
off the
sailed
rails.
slightly. So
we finally are just seeing it. They've always been off the rails.
That's true.
that's just funny coming. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but
true.
yeah, I think it's going to be Tiger, and I think they're doing, and it really kind of disappoints me, is I think they're doing a disservice to Matt Kuchar and not naming him an assistant captain and getting
Zach's
him in
boy.
the rotation.
Yeah.
I think it'll happen.
Well, I mean, they keep naming, it's Davis Love, Steve Stricker, Fred Couples,
Jim Furyk,
and Jim Furyk.
Yeah.
It's just the rotation of assistant captains, and I Stuart Sink, I think.
Stuart Sink's, yeah, he's new into that. Yeah.
So now once you get into that club, you're kind of going to be a captain eventually. And I think they think Kuchar, since he never won a major, he's kind of a little bit of a goofball. That
neither did Stricker, though. Stricker didn't win a major, and he was a captain.
Yeah, that's true. So
yeah, I agree. I don't know why Kuchar's not an assistant captain. He's in his mid-40s. He's his best days are behind him. Sorry, Zach. And I just think it makes sense that he be part of this group. I don't understand why having 63-year-old Fred Couples continually. I mean, I think he's awesome, but like, why is he continually an assistant captain? I thought the whole idea of this task force was to get new guys a couple assistant captainships for a couple Ryder Cups, and then they're going to be the captain. And I just don't understand retreading the same 3 or 4 guys, maybe throwing one in, but that's the part I don't get. But I certainly hope Tiger's going to be the 25 captain at Bethpage. I want to go to that one very badly. Talking about it with my son. I said, if Tiger's the captain, I think I just got to make it happen. So that might be a future trip, or hopefully make that one work out. Before we make a prediction, guys, what are I don't know if either one of you have a couple props or bets you like. Johnny, anything you've seen on any of the books that you like as far as point scorers or any other kind of weird props?
Yeah, so I looked a little bit on DraftKings earlier today just to kind of see what was up there, and they've got a lot of the bets up. One thing I'm going to be waiting for, very interested in, is over under on their total points earned. That's going to be something I'm going to be really, I think, hitting quite a bit here. But so a lot of these are going to have longer odds. They're going to have anywhere from like plus 450 to plus 1800, stuff like that. some of the bets I like is top U.S. team point score. Got a feeling about Max Homa, and I think his value at plus 900 is really good. Like you see, like you alluded to how you like that pairing potentially with Colin Morikawa, and I think Max Homa. The good thing about him and Morikawa is they can play four ball and foursomes.
Yeah.
And be just as good in either way. And I think Zach Johnson's going to have to rely on both of those guys to be consistent guys. I think they're going to get a lot of matches there. Him at plus 900 is a number I like, and then also Brooks Koepka. I think he's going to get a lot of matches. He's at plus 700. That's a pretty good number there for top U.S. point scorer. I thought about guys like Scotty Scheffler, and you look at Cantlay and Schauffele. Those guys are like plus 450 to plus 650. I don't think that's got the greatest of values there, so I'm going to kind of stay away from that. I'm also staying away from Jordan and Justin Thomas. While I think they play well, I don't think they're going to play in a bunch of matches. I'm just kind of I'm very unsure of that, but kind of that Homa Koepka there. Let me see here. Top English point scorer. Matthew Fitzpatrick is plus 225. I think that's pretty good value there. It could be Fleetwood as well. But Matthew Fitzpatrick's a great putter. Perfect for match play, and he's as tough as nails. And if you're gonna give me one or the other, I gotta pick the guy who can putt, and he's won a U.S. Open and been his game's been pretty good here recently, and it's kind of rounding into form there. Top rookie point scorer overall, I'm going to go with Max Homa at plus 300. Top captain's pick point scorer, that's not Homa qualified. Top captain's pick, this is overall European and United States, Koepka at plus 550. And then I want to go with team to lead first. It was the USA at minus 115. But the more I think about it, the more I think Luke Donald could just start out with the big boys, and I might have to wait on that. So I don't like, and then a couple bets I don't like is I don't like the team to lead first after each session unless they come out with the pairings and still have the numbers up. They may pull the numbers once the pairings are announced, but it's one of those things that the U.S. should start out strong, but I don't know the format. I don't know if they're starting out for a four ball or foursome, so that's going to be a big deal there. But that might be something we put in your best bets once we figure out the format and then the pairings after the first day.
Very nice. Anything for you, Zach?
Just that I would like to piggyback on everything Johnny said about Homa. I have him circled and starred. I think Homa has the possibility if he plays well that how Reed kind of had that Captain America thing going, but the thing is everybody hates Reed, so we could have like a lovable Captain America on our hands with Homa. I think he's the guy that is not currently like one of the boys clubs, the Spieth, Thomas, Morikawa, Fowler, those guys that really could cement himself as like a guy for the next couple of years, couple being 10 or so. I really like his attitude towards this. I think that he could be really well. I would take him as top point scorer as well. And if we're talking about English top point scorer, I like to pick Shane Lowry and things, man. I don't know why, but I always seem to come back to Shane Lowry. So
plus 1,800.
I just think Shane Lowry, man, he does. You don't have Poulter this year, so who's going to be the guy that steps up and is the backbone of Europe? And I don't think it's going to be Rory, and I don't think it's going to be Rahm. I'm not saying they're not capable. I just don't think that's their role. I think Lowry's going to be that guy. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right.
He had a couple moments at Whistling Straits, even though they got
Yeah,
decimated, but he played really well that week. So
that's what I'm scared of.
yeah. I got a couple here, guys. Opening European tee shot Friday morning. Rory McIlroy at plus 350. I just think and you alluded to it, Johnny. I just think Luke Donald's going to put out, if it's Rory and Ludwig or if it's Rory and Lowry or whoever. I just think Rory's going to be in that group. And so that's a risky play, obviously, but I just think it's going to be one of those top guys in that first match out. I had circled. These are always so hard when you talk about top point scorer because you just don't really know how many sessions are going to play, and that's really a lot of this. Is if I knew Ricky Fowler was only going to play 3 and Scotty was going to play 5, that's a big deal. Something about Wyndham Clark at plus 1,800 I thought was really interesting for the U.S. side because that dude proved to me so much at the U.S. Open. It's like he kind of became a dude that week, and he hit some just some some big ass shots, and just the way he was twirling the club, I was like, damn, this dude's kind of cocky, and he hits it a mile, and he putts it great, and to me, those are two things that could transfer really well this week. That's my long shot of the week, but I'll echo you guys. Morikawa and Homa, I like a lot this week. Top USA rookie. There's really nothing there for me, but we talked about Homa. He's the favorite there, plus 150. Harmon at plus 500 is a little bit further down the board, the ones that I kind of like there. European top Europe captain's pick. Aberg, I'm in on him this week, plus 300 of the 6 captain's pick. I like him as well. I didn't really find a lot that I loved other than that, to be honest with you. Biggest winning margin, I had 6 and 4. No, I'm sorry, 6 and 5 circled, but that in my mind, but that's the favorite at plus 300. So it's really hard to pinpoint some of these props without knowing A, the pairings at this point, and B, the plan for the captains on how much they're going to play each of them.
Yeah, I think you got to sprinkle these bets. Just add, maybe dedicate 1 unit or something like that for all the bets that you like now, and then once the individual ones come out, and then the match ones, then that's where we got to kind of hit it.
Yep. I did something similar for the Solheim Cup this weekend with USA, or just top point scorer overall. Allison Corpus, through 3 sessions, she was 2-0-1, and then Stacey Lewis benched her in the afternoon yesterday, and for some reason, and then she doesn't score another point the whole session, or the whole matches. By the way, that was incredible.
Awesome.
Today.
That was incredible. Awesome.
If we get half of that next
Yep.
Sunday, we're in for a treat. That was incredible. All right, guys, who wins and what's the score? Zach?
America 15.5 to 13.
Okay, so it's pretty
20
tight.
and a half points,
15 and a half, 12 and a half. 15 and a half, 12 and there's 28 points.
It's 28, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
15 and a half, 12 and a half. All right, Johnny.
So I'll first say I cannot bet the overall tournament winner or to lift the trophy for the European team. This is like most of the time I bet, every other time I should say, I bet with my head. I'll bet against my Tigers, my Lions, I'm okay with that and everything. This is the one event that I cannot. I do think there's good value on the European team at plus 125. If that's something that you like, plus 125 to lift the trophy, or in the 3-way to win. I'm not doing it there. But I think it's going to be very, very close. I'm going to end up betting USA 15, Europe 13, and you can get that on the DraftKings Sportsbook at plus 1,100.
I went the same route. I had 15-13 as well. United States. I think it's going to be close. I just, if the U.S. wins, it's gonna. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a 1-pointer or 2-pointer, if it's 3 points, Zach, I'd almost be surprised, because to me that's not a huge margin, but it's sizable. I could certainly see it
Mhm.
going that way. But I think this thing's going to be really tight on Sunday. I think the U.S. needs to be at a point where it's like 8-8 though going into singles. I mean, traditionally they've dominated singles over the years, but I think this European team's a little bit different. They're more like regular PGA Tour players. I wouldn't want them to be trailing like 9-7 going into singles. I just it would
Mhm.
be too much to overcome. So they need to either be leading or tied going into singles to make this thing work and to make it happen. Can't wait though. It's literally one of my we talk about the majors, but I love the Ryder Cup unlike almost anything, and I would love to see the U.S. win on the road for the first time in forever. Um, you guys going to be watching early? I know Johnny, you're off. Zach, you're probably working, so maybe you'll catch it, while you're working, at some point in the day.
I'll be watching it while I'm working.
Good to
I
hear.
sit in too I sit in too visible of an area that if I had it on, there's so much traffic of people walking by and everything like that. So Friday I probably won't be able to catch much of it. I'll figure out something, and then Saturday nobody else is in the office. Sunday nobody's in the office, so I'll probably. It's just how early I want to wake up after that long week because my Detroit Lions play Thursday night, and I'll be at 6 or 7 days in a row, and so it's gonna be a quick turnaround. But you know what? This is the Ryder Cup. This is the first legit chance that I can remember because I do not remember the '93 team very much. First legit chance that they have to win overseas, and I'm
Yeah.
so excited. This is
How,
you know so good.
yeah. How could you not remember Chip Beck and Jim Gallagher Jr. bringing that trophy home? God, that's you should be ashamed of yourself.
I know. I remember. So my first one I remember was Oak Hill 1995.
Yeah.
That was my freshman year of high school. That was the one where I can remember Faldo chipping out on the one hole and hitting it up there and making the putt for par over Curtis Strange. And Curtis Strange, all he had to do was have like one of the last like what 4 holes or something like that,
Yeah.
and he
It was
lost the
bad
last 4.
stuff.
I remember that because I remember Azinger and Seve they played against each other a couple times, and I think they met in the singles competition as well, singles portion, and they were not fans of each other at all, and were just it was
Yeah.
just this sticky, uncomfortable match. And I remember watching it with my dad, absolutely loved it.
I want more of that. I want more of that this year. I want some
Yes,
uncomfortable feelings. I want some big moments. I want to see who's going to step up in those big moments late on Sunday. I can't wait for all of it. All right, boys. It was a lot to unpack. We got through it. Appreciate your time. And enjoy the Ryder Cup.
thank you.
Go USA.
Thanks, Zach. All right, check us out on YouTube. First podcast in a while, and maybe we'll have some bets up Wednesday or Thursday for the Ryder Cup, uh, which starts Friday. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for sticking with us. Catch you next time.